Welcome back to the Skylanders Ultimate Nightmare series, where I'll be playing a solo run with every Skylander on Nightmare mode to see which Skylanders and which of their upgrade paths are better. Today we're taking a look at Eruptor, starting off with the Volcano upgrade path, which is my preferred one starting out here. Before we get into any specifics on the upgrade path, I'd like to point out that the magma balls do actually block the Bark Demon's attack. That being said, one shortcoming of this upgrade path is that it's really hard to hit enemies up on ledges like these. But in exchange, you get some really powerful up-close damage due to the eruption. The upgrades you get from this path include the eruption being very quick to perform, it dealing increased damage, and extra volcanoes forming to spew out more lava for even more damage. The damage up is nice and all, but the real draw to this upgrade path is the speed that it takes to perform. It is extremely quick to do one eruption, so you can very easily walk up to an enemy, erupt, and then walk away before they have a chance to hit you. The beginning of the run is pretty smooth as usual, though at the end of this arena in Chapter 3 it becomes a little difficult to see what's going on, just because of how much fire there is from my attacks and from the trap in this room. The tactic I do a lot with Eruptor is waiting for an enemy to attack, and while they're recovering, I walk up and use the eruption for big damage. However, it can be a bit tricky when the enemies really discourage you from coming up close. But at least we've got the long range of the lava blobs or magma balls to reach them in that case. At the end of Chapter 4 here, something weird happens. Normally 2 executioners are about to spawn from this door, but one of them dies immediately, and I have no idea why. I guess the second one takes out his revenge on me by giving me a really nasty teleport here right on top. And here I showcase the very destructive power of this upgrade path, dealing tons of damage to tons of enemies up close. This icy arena from Glacier Gully proved to be very difficult. Firstly, I'm an up-close attacker. Second, I don't have any movement options in my move kit. And third, apparently, and I didn't know this, if you're sliding and spamming his main attack, you can barely influence your direction that he moves. So like, I'm holding to the right here, but Eruptor just slips so much because I'm pressing the main attack over and over, and I almost lose there too. I don't get a lot of opportunities to heal before the next difficult section, so it's going to be a little tough with 2 executioners and 2 bag of booms in a small area where I need to get up close to deal my biggest damage, but it ends up being possible. I think a lot of players know this already, but ranged attackers are generally much better than melee attackers for the reason that a lot of enemies need to be up close to you in order to hit you, as well as the fact that you have more time to dodge projectiles coming at you if you start from far away. This fight right here demonstrates exactly how I've got to play Eruptor. Wait for the enemies to miss and then go in for the kill. And now I'm approaching the section that tends to be very difficult for a lot of characters. Getting up close towards this Bark Demon to attack it is going to be really difficult because of all of its guards, but I kind of have to in order to get big damage. And that's the end of that. So now we're on to the Magmantor path, which upgrades the main attack, your lava blobs. On this path you get the ability for lava blobs to bounce and travel farther. Lava blobs will explode, damaging nearby enemies in a really big radius, and lava blobs do increased damage. The main draw of this upgrade path is the explosion. The blast radius on this attack is absolutely enormous and hits so many enemies that it makes the eruption attack, especially without its path upgrades, feel pretty useless. The blobs bouncing and traveling farther sounds really nice, and it would be if it worked every time, but for some reason they sometimes just don't bounce and they disappear after the first landing. Something else I noticed when playing on this upgrade path, Eruptor has a different upgrade that's not a path upgrade, which says lava blobs will leave pools of lava behind when they hit the floor. And I found out you can only have 3 of those at the same time, so throwing a bunch of extra lava blobs will end up just clearing out the other pools you had to spawn new ones, so you can't flood the entire area with those lava pools. As we near the end of Chapter 3, we can see Eruptor's kind of wrecking house this time through. As always, I try to use all the attacks I have, even if I don't think they're going to be super useful, just because I want to get a gauge on how good or bad they are. But the eruption attack without the speed bonus from the upgrade path makes it really miserable to use. In fact, the eruption is pretty outclassed by lava blobs by this point because the blobs have such big damage and blast radius. And of course they have range. Fighting on this upgrade path makes me kinda just wanna only use lava blobs and just spam those the entire time, because why would you use any of the other moves? Also, the second executioner here dies immediately again. When I'm on the Volcano path, I feel like the eruption attack and the lava blobs attack are pretty viable, and occasionally the magma balls. But here, I just want to use lava blobs. There's no reason to use anything else. Although I've learned from my mistake from last time, that doesn't make this section easy. I still have no maneuverability. But now that the lava blobs can bounce and they have such big blast radii, I can actually hit enemies up on these ledges pretty easily. That being said, the executioners are probably still the main threat. So far, this run has been pretty smooth sailing, except for the fight on the ice earlier. But as we approach the spot where the other Eruptor run ended, I'd be sure to use the range of my lava balls to keep a distance from the Bark Demon and don't get killed by him this time. Up here you can see the lava blobs are doing huge damage to all the enemies, and the eruption is really not. So if you use this upgrade path, you probably should never erupt realistically. You can still occasionally see me using the eruption just because of how much I like that move, even though it's not very good on this upgrade path. Overall, between the two paths, I feel like Magmantor is definitely better, but Volcano was much more fun. I prefer characters where I don't just spam one attack over and over for the most part, and with Magmantor you kinda have to do that. As a whole, Eruptor has no movement moves and is very slow, so it makes him pretty vulnerable to enemies, especially if you need to get up close to damage them. But he's still a pretty fun character. Fighting this Bark Demon here is completely optional, so I kinda screwed myself over and definitely could have made it a little farther in this run. And as we approach the end of the run, it turns out it's actually not the grenade generals that take me out for once, but the fact that the lava blobs push these guys around makes them a little bit unpredictable.